Hey, what's up guys, Ruff here. So today we have another follow-up on the Hasan Piker and Ethan Klein and Ela Klein situation. So as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video so you are an engaged viewer and your view actually counts, because that's the new system on YouTube. Even if you watch a video in its entirety, your view might not count unless you do those things I just mentioned. Not a good system, don't like it either, but that's just the way it is. I'm spreading the message. So what we're going to go over in this video is a official response from Ethan Klein talking about the very reckless rhetoric that Hasan Piker has shared about his wife, where many people have interpreted his message as something that would encourage Hasan's followers to think that they are morally and legally correct to enact some sort of justice on Ela Klein due to her service as a secretary in the IDF nearly 2 decades ago. Hasan Piker has been really feeling the heat recently. We've talked about him multiple times, and for good reason. He has been going off the walls, and that's really saying something for a guy like this who has said some very crazy things over the years. We know Twitch is going to do nothing about this guy, but the social response on various platforms is meaningful, and it's seemingly getting to him because he's been very defensive for the past couple of days, mainly because of the reaction to this clip in particular. We've talked about this in the last couple of videos, but here's a quick replay of the context for what we're talking about today. This clip where he's talking about Ela Klein, Ethan Klein's wife, and as many have interpreted his message as claiming she is a valid military target.
Doesn't matter if they're the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Doesn't matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants. Okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral. Okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white. Okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel is in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid, which is a crime in and of itself. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank. 2 crimes in and of itself. And every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids. The violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal. Okay? It's just the truth.
So I think any reasonable person looking at this clip, knowing the full context of Hasan Piker and his community, knowing how radicalized and unhinged they are, you can get past the semantics of whether or not he meant past or present tense and realize that what he's saying to many in his audience is approval of going out there and acting upon what he's saying, going after Ela Klein because of her service in the IDF 2 decades ago and saying she's a valid military target that is morally and legally okay to go after. It doesn't matter if you want to get into the semantics. I think everyone, knowing his community, understands how dangerous this rhetoric was to share. And of course, right after that, he did the classic Hasan system. He started deflecting blame, and he started going after people like Destiny, even tagging YouTube in multiple social media posts where he had this conversation, this chat log from Destiny where he said there were reasons why gay-menning Hasan in real life would be justified. And he ironically goes onto social media saying he needs to be banned for this violent rhetoric. Literally, in the same time, he's being called out for sharing rhetoric that could incite violence against Ela Klein. Now, he would go into a stream right after that and have a very long cope session where he deflected blame onto everyone but himself, including content creators like Asmongold and other described slop tubers, as Hasan likes to call them. He got angry at them, called them monstrous, disgusting people because they quote-unquote elevate his clips, aka react to his public statements. It was very bizarre. Now, a lot of other people have weighed in, including attorneys like Legal Mindset. We've featured him many times on this channel, and he had something to say about the situation. He did a legal analysis of what Hasan Piker said and determined the likelihood of whether or not he's guilty of a terroristic threat. And this is what he believes. He believes Hasan could make a legal defense against this sort of a charge, but it's really not that simple.
So what's my conclusion here? My conclusion is Hasan can reasonably argue the statement was in past tense. He can say, hey, look, this was a past tense statement, and therefore he's unlikely to be convicted. That means thrown in jail as a form of terroristic threat. Of course, guys, on this channel, I call balls and strikes. I don't say, hey, this person's going to jail forever if it's not a situation where it is. And this is simply one where you cannot convict Hasan beyond a reasonable doubt that that was a terroristic threat. It's just not possible. However, for those that want to sit out there and say, oh, but Hasan makes me angry, there are some other points that you should bring, that I can bring up. It is possible there could be investigation. Sure, law enforcement could look into it. Law enforcement could also develop a file, develop a overall binder, or what you call a dossier on Hasan Piker, and build up all of these things he's saying to concoct overall a pattern of behavior which displays certain things which may be questionable or problematic. And if in the future he makes a statement which is in line with the negative interpretation, then you better believe all of these statements he's made are going to come out.
So I definitely agree with his legal analysis, and I appreciate that Legal Mindset can kind of take a step back and give some objective analysis. I think Hasan would have a very good argument to say, oh, I meant that in past tense, not present tense. I'm not making some sort of an active claim against Klein. But of course, we understand the results of what he's saying beyond just a legal sense. We know, given his unhinged and radicalized audience, the words he said definitely would be used by some of his audience to justify going out and harming her in real life. That is not a bold claim to make. That's just the reality of his community and the rhetoric he's been sharing with them for years and years. Now, just because he might not be legally responsible, as Legal Mindset says, there's a lot of other things that could happen. I mean, it could open up an entire profile on him in the course of law enforcement, but also he will continue to suffer the loss of privileges like his global entry pass. Unfortunate for Hasan Piker, I guess he's going to have to wait with the peasants when he's traveling abroad. But of course, he keeps battling under the Hasan system for every single thing he's being criticized of, especially the history of violent rhetoric he has made. Now, in my last video, and many other people have also raised this recently, you bring up examples of calls to violence like this. This was a tweet back in 2024, just over a year ago, where he quoted a sitting U.S. senator with this image, which this is the weapon that was crafted to successfully assassinate the then Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. This is such a blatantly clear call to violence. Nobody looking at this objectively would disagree. That's his intent here, but of course, in his most recent stream, he has been coping and saying that this was all just a joke. It wasn't meant to be serious, and that his critics, the people upset with this, they find no words funny. So therefore, what he did was perfectly okay.
I'm showing you right now, this illegal, okay? It's just like, it's just so, it's so funny that like all of the people who think the peak of comedy is like saying the N-word will unironically look at stuff like this and to this day still go, this person wanted to assassinate a sitting senator. He did a death threat to a sitting senator. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. What do you mean? Why are you concern trolling? Shut the f up.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time believing anything this guy says, given his history of threatening not one, but two sitting U.S. officials We're not even talking about Rick Scott, for example, that he threatened not that long ago, only months ago. And we're not even getting into his praising of terrorist organizations and his praising of Houthi terrorists seizing civilian ships. I mean, it's all ridiculous. In fact, it's gotten so ridiculous, even people like Aiden Ross are calling out Hasan. In this clip right here, where on Kick, he was calling for Hasan to be deported. He said the next time he talks with Donald Trump, which he has interviewed Donald Trump before, at least collaborated with him, he said next time he sees him, he's going to bring up the topic of deporting Hasan Piker.
Saying you were begging for a Kick contract when they started, which is the most brain dead revision of events I've ever heard.
Hasan, on my mom and dad's life you were. And don't do that. Because I can't throw certain people under the bus and everyone believes me. I have no reason to lie. I expose and I talk the real about everything. I don't give a f. I got no reason to lie. All my life you were entertaining this contract about coming to Kick in the beginning. Don't lie. Don't do that. And guess what? You would have taken the crypto money from Stake. So you don't even make any sense. You suck. You suck. How does this retard have a audience? Like, I'm not even joking. Yo, bro, he's banned in Turkey. It makes sense. Let's ban him from America. Yo, I ain't gonna lie. Yo, he is literally a terrorist. Yo, bro, please can we ban him from America? Yo, bro, I will get a poll sign. I guarantee everyone will sign it. He sucks. He sucks. Let's deport Hasan. Hashtag deport Hasan. Oh my God, bro, please. Bro, if I see Trump, I'm actually asking him. I don't care. I don't give a. Yo, bro, I'm gonna bring it up. I don't care. Yo, chat. Am I getting a little bit too far? All right. Next.
Like, I know that's a funny clip, but at the end of the day, like, why is Hasan here? Why is he in America? He hates this country. He praises the 9/11 attacks. He praises terrorist organizations that have been designated by the United States as terrorist organizations. He praises them. He sides with them. He sympathizes with them. He platforms some of their members. Why does this guy want to be here? I really don't understand. He's not just here. He's paying his tax dollars that go to the war machine he pretends and masquerades his persona around hating so much. But anyways, Asmongold made a very good point. The worst thing that could ever happen to Hasan's career is peace between Palestine and Israel. He would lose his greatest shield. This man has been using this conflict as a shield for years. He's not just making millions of dollars talking about the situation, virtue signaling about it, and using it as a means for financial gain. He's also using it as a defense. You know, it's like the joke, right? Oh, you're going to criticize me while there's a literal genocide going on? He unironically has employed that defense over and over again. And if this conflict ended, he would lose all of his defenses. It would be a very bad time for him, and that's sad to say. This guy's not a hero. He is profiting off of this, and he wants it to continue because it ending, if there's peace, that would be the biggest blow to his career he's ever seen. Now, getting to what I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Ethan Klein has responded to these recent comments about his wife, and he has made it very clear that he believes, like I have mentioned, that his comments were meant to incite a reaction in his very unhinged community.
Hasan has been trying to claim that he meant only people during the raid would be legit to exact violence on it. But even if it's true that that's what he meant, why is he making it sound like she escaped justice? Wouldn't that justify a form of justice catching up to her, right? It's something she has coming, right? Why even include a specific person who hasn't served in the military in 20 years? Why does he mix up past and present tense while he's discussing this? You know, is this a responsible use of his words and his platform? Don't you think that even if what you're saying is true and you meant only people on that raid would deserve violence, that invoking a specific person is really appropriate and true? And doesn't that have the risk for provoking the craziest people in your audience to think that maybe it would be a good idea to kill my wife, right? Like, what are we talking about, dude?
Now, in this next part we're going to look at, he talks about the actual service that Hila Klein provided in the IDF. She was a secretary, but many of the unhinged psychopaths in Hasan's orbit have been making outrageous claims. I mean, you have Denims, for example, saying that Gila was going around game-ending unarmed children with absolutely no proof. We also have some of the other people in the orbit, like Noah Sampson, saying that she volunteered to join the IDF raids on illegally occupied spaces in the West Bank with no proof. And he implies that there's multiple raids that she joined, again, with zero proof. But Ethan makes it very clear this is what she did in the IDF, and she left. She became a United States citizen after her required service in the IDF as an Israeli citizen.
And also, Hila was a secretary, okay? Him and all of his friends here, they're trying to invoke the image that Hila was somehow some commando that was constantly going into raids and kidnapping people in their sleep. She was not in a combat role. She was a secretary. She never fired a bullet outside of basic training, okay? And Hila is what these people always dream about. She's an Israeli Jew that left Israel. She's an American citizen of 15 years now, a mother of 3. This is the idea of the perfect Israeli, one that leaves. Despite all that, Hasan is suggesting that it would be a moral victory for someone to murder her. This is actually the 4th or 5th time someone has directly called for violence against me or Hila on Twitch since October 7th. And so far, none of these people have been punished for making these threats. And I don't expect Hasan to meet any repercussions for this either.
Now, there's one more section of his video I want to share, and I have this TikTok playing in the background for a very good reason. Ethan talks about how he, his wife, and his family, they are afraid to go out in public, especially given the sort of rhetoric that Hasan and others have shared. And I think that is completely reasonable of him and his family to feel, because these people are insane. They genuinely believe that these are war criminals that are valid military targets, and they will go after him. I think that's not an insane thing to say. And you can see when he goes out in public, this is a clip we talked about a few weeks ago, he's approached by some of these lunatics, this TikTok channel. They went up to him and asked him, oh, what do you think about Israel-Palestine? What do you think about Palestine? Say free Palestine. And he did. And that's the irony of all of this. He believes with like 99% of what Hasan and his orbiters say, but that 1% makes them hate him 100% and believe he's 100% deserving of whatever comes his way. I mean, you can see the comments on this liked by the person who's trying to get people to say free Palestine, gets that from Ethan and his wife, but still it's not enough. They're calling him a Zionist. They're saying all these horrible things. He doesn't care. He's making this up. And yet people saying she volunteered to go into people's houses because she was bored as a secretary. This is liked by the creator. This stuff is insane. And why Ethan says he's now applying for a concealed carry to protect himself and his family.
Since Hasan and many of his friends have employed this violent rhetoric against me and my family, me and Hila rarely leave our houses or make public appearances because of the constant and overwhelming sense of danger. The last 2 years, we've spent more time inside than ever before. And we stopped doing our biannual live shows, right, for over a year because of the fear of violence being enacted not just on us, but on our fans and our crew. This, by the way, is resulting in the crew directly losing money, as these live shows, we would donate the entire box office to the crew. And we did this twice a year. It was a significant source of revenue for them that's now been shut off out of fear. We've been forced to hire a full-time guard at the office because everyone in the office was feeling unsafe. And me and Hila are both waiting for our concealed carry license so that we can finally feel safe in public again, which is not easy to get in California, and it's going to take like over a year probably. And I usually choose not to talk about this stuff because the provocateurs who will revel in it, because this is their goal, right? They want me to be afraid. They want me to be in my house. They want me to avoid doing public events. They want me to cower. So this is very much giving them what they want. However, in this moment, I do feel the entire context of how language like this affects me and my family and my crew and everybody around me.
Look, I think any reasonable person looking at this situation knows that things have gone way too far. And Ethan and his desire to protect his family by various means is completely justified. If you're a content creator and you have any sort of level of haters, you should do everything in your power to protect yourself and your family. And that also goes for people who are very well liked, because sometimes it's the people who have an unhealthy obsession in the positive way, quote unquote positive way, who are also very dangerous. But as any public figure, you should take these steps to protect yourself. And unfortunately for Ethan and his wife, they live in California, so it's going to be a while before he can get those concealed carries. But anyways, who could blame him at this point? That's just doing the right thing for your family and taking steps to protect them, especially when you have maniacs like Hasan Piker spreading such reckless rhetoric and statements directed towards his family. It's no wonder people like this feel the need to protect themselves, especially given the unhinged community that Hasan has fostered for years. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.